night, cloud during the day. They could see when he was there. And he said, whenever it lifted and started to move, whoa, pack it all up. We're following. Here we go. And he moved them off towards the promised land. Takes a couple of weeks to get there. And they got there in a couple of weeks. And they sent spies into the land. And we know that story quite well. Numbers 13 and 14. Two of them, 12 spies went into the kingdom. You know, heard that? Oh, you've been blessed, you don't know that stuff. Two of them believed God, said, we can do this. 10 of them said, no, we can't. These guys are too big for us. And caused a big rebellion. And anyway, that's there. And because of that rebellion, God said, this generation that were counted in the census aren't going to get into the promised land. It just seems so harsh to us. You know, we think God is so gracious and so on. But there are limits. There are limits to God's grace. That's not shocking to you, but you know, God doesn't just keep on going forever. He has boundaries, and He said, yeah, I brought you to this place. I've done everything for you, and you said I can't do it, and that's a lie. And He said, you're not going to get into the promised land. So of a million people who came out of the promised land, 2 million, Joshua and Caleb. So anyway, you have every aspect of life of a group of people. And this, of course this won't apply to the energy group at all, because we won't be enough, but you have grumbling, and moaning, and giving out about the leaders, and rebellion, including within families. You have a faith challenge that a few accept and most don't, the whole thing with the spies. Moses had to intercede for the people yet again. You have the death of leaders and the change of leadership, which is always traumatic. It's difficult. Even one of the leaders, even Moses, disobeyed God. And he trusted in his experience, and he trusted in his own wisdom rather than God's word, and that was why he didn't get into the promised land. You can read that in Numbers 20. You have opposition from the neighbours. You know, this is spiritual life. You better get used to it. You will encounter all this. If the Lord leads you into leadership, you will encounter this. But it's okay. As we learned earlier, He's in charge. It's okay. And so, basically, they had, for a journey of 2 weeks, they then had to wander for the next 30 years until that whole generation died out, until the new generation was ready to go and take the land. Amazing. And then when that new generation was ready, there's a second census, in Numbers 26, I think. So there's a census of the new generation, and they get ready to enter the land. And it's really different now. The end of Numbers and the whole of Deuteronomy is about getting ready to enter the land. And you can see this is not just a dream anymore, this is planning. They're actually going for it. Wonderful story about the neighbouring king hiring a hitman to take out the Israelites. And Balaam, I haven't got time to go into it now, but he hires somebody to take them out with a curse, and he can't do it because God says, I'm going to bless these people, you can't curse them. But there we go. What we're getting into now, just for ourselves tonight, is the finishing stretch. But it's the finishing stretch of Moses' life as well. And basically, the whole book of Deuteronomy is just the most almighty team talk you've ever come across. I don't know if Travis Tony gave a good team talk tonight. I don't know if anybody's been catching things on their phone now if Ireland won tonight or not. But hopefully he gave a good team talk to the Irish team. There'll be big ones in Croke Park on Sunday. Kenny and Tip, the two managers. But that's what Deuteronomy is all about. And it's called the second law, that's what it means. But it doesn't mean it's a new law. It's just he's preaching the law again to a new generation, so make sure they know it well and that they can live it out. He does 4 things. This is what I'm pretty well going to finish with. He reviews the history of the people, so he tells them that they've got a history, that they come from somewhere, they're not just out of nowhere. We talked about doing a bit of church history on this course. I'm not sure if we're actually going to do it in the end, but actually it's quite important to know where we come from sometimes. Why we believe what we believe and so on. But he reviews their history of the people in the first part of Deuteronomy. He tells them the law again. Not he lays down the law, but he tells them what the law is. This is These are the spiritual ways to live. In chapters 5 to 26, the commandments, warnings about how to be right with God, worship, diet, social responsibility, all those things we've already talked about from Leviticus. He says there's going to be a prophet like me who will rise up out of Israel. And that became a really important promise for the rest of the people of Israel. He was looking towards Jesus. That's in Deuteronomy 18. He lists a whole list of blessings if you obey God and curses if you don't. Funny, I don't know if your parents were like this. The warnings always seem to be stronger than the stick always seems to be bigger than the carrot. And actually, the list of curses is much longer than the list of blessings. Maybe he doesn't knew human. God knows human nature. He knows we respond to warnings very well. But there's a whole list of blessings, and the blessings are very practical. They're about health. They're about good business. They're about good relationships. They're about long life. But they're also about God's presence. And actually, he finishes that list. This is the only one we'll actually read, with what I think is a really good evangelistic appeal. Deuteronomy 30. This is the end of the list of blessings and curses. Deuteronomy 30, verse 11. And you might think, oh, we've had all these books of law, and there's rule after rule after rule after rule. And he says, now what I'm commanding to you is not difficult. There might be a lot of it, but it's not difficult. You can do this. It's not difficult for you. It's not beyond your reach. It's not up in heaven so that you have to ask who will ascend into heaven to get it and proclaim it to us so that we may obey it. Nor is it beyond the sea so that you have to ask who will cross the sea and get it to proclaim it to us so that we may obey it. No, the word is very near you. It is in your mouth and in your heart so that you may obey it. He'd already told them, keep the word of the law. Keep the word in your mouth. Talk about it together. Tell your children about it. Keep it in your house. Know the word of God. Keep it close. See, verse 15, 30, 15. See, I set before you today life and prosperity, death and destruction. Fairly clear choice. For I command you today to love the Lord your God, to walk in his ways, to keep his commandments, decrees and laws, then you will live and increase. And the Lord your God will bless you in the land you are entering to possess. Oh, we're back to the covenant again. Back to the promise to Abraham. You will be blessed. You'll enter the land. But if your heart turns away and you are not obedient, and if you're drawn away to bow down to other gods and worship them, which as we've seen is very easy, get very easily derailed, I declare to you this day that you will certainly be destroyed. You will not live long in the land you're crossing the Jordan to enter and possess. You can imagine it's going to get quiet when he said that. This day I call heaven and earth as witnesses against you, that I have set before you life and death, blessings and curses. Now, choose life, so that you and your children may live, that you may love the Lord your God, listen to his voice and hold fast to him. For the Lord is your life, and he will give you many years in the land he swore to give your fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Any of you got an evangelistic calling on your life? There's a good example of how to give an evangelistic message. People there knew they had a choice to make, and they made the choice to follow him. And the last thing he does in Deuteronomy is he provides for the future. He sets up the succession. He says, I know I'm not going to lead you on much longer, but I'm putting somebody in place who will. Joshua, son of Nun, which doesn't mean he didn't have any parents. He was from Judah, and he was the one who was going to lead them into the promised land. So Moses made a way for the succession. Excuse me. And he even wrote down all of his law. And that's where we get these 5 books, the books of Moses. He wrote it all down so that people had it and they were to read it